Hello and thank you for joining us today at the Bramble Patch. My name is Wendy and on Technicals today we have Alicia. Thank you once again for all the comments that you've been sending us. The feedback has been really good and we're so pleased that you're enjoying the tutorials that we're doing for you. We've still got lots lined up for you, and today we are going to be looking at this particular technique. This is called hidden windmills, and it comes from the section that you can see here, where you can see a little spinning windmill. I've done a quilt behind me, so the quilt that's hanging behind me and this cushion pad, this has all been done from the patterned fabrics. The darker fabrics is just one jelly roll, and then I did purchase 3/4 meter extra of fabric for me to complete the binding on the quilt that's hanging behind me, and that also then gave me enough of the dark fabric to actually finish the edge of the cushion off. So if I can just pop it down there, you can probably see the difference, the shaping on there. As you can see, this is the windmill that you can see around here. So it's a really nice technique to do. Now, the beauty of this is the fact that you can use a jelly roll. So we've just got the jelly rolls. You can use the barley pops, or you can actually get pre-cut 2.5-inch strips done like this as well. So all of those are good. Quite often when we go to shows and things, we pick up jelly rolls and then actually wonder what we're going to do them. I got some jelly rolls a long time ago. I'm talking probably 15 years ago, and I had done the jelly roll race, but I didn't just want to keep doing stripped quilts with the jelly rolls. So I actually made one many years ago, and then about 3 years ago I purchased this jelly roll from the Bramble Patch. So this isn't a current jelly roll that I've been using here. This is probably about 3.5 years old, and I made it up in this technique because I really enjoyed it. So the beauty of this as well is you can just make this up of scraps, and that's why I've actually chosen to do this technique today, because the way we're living at the moment, whilst we're in the pandemic, a lot of us can be using our bits and bobs up. They don't have to coordinate or anything. They will just go together. I have used one background fabric with this, but in actual fact, you can use any colour. It would look really good if you've got brighter colours. You could use maybe a black or a dark background, which would make it pop. It's suitable for young, going right the way through to older people, and it's really nice to do. So first of all, let's have a look and see how we do it. The strips that we've used are 2.5 inches in width. So like I say, if you've got a pre-cut 2.5 inch, as in a jelly roll or a barley pop, that's fine. But if you're using straps or you're using meterage as the background fabric, then you just need to cut that fabric. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly cut some background fabric here. And to do this, you can obviously use your ordinary ruler, or you can use something called a shape cut. So the shape cut is something I use a lot. I've used this before, I believe, on a tutorial right when we first started doing them. This is, it's made, it's got the lines all the way across it here. And these cuts here, when they're manufactured, are cut right the way through. So this is one of the products that when you actually use it, they get better with age because they free up. I particularly like this one because it's got 1/2 inch increments. You can actually cut a 1/4 with using a 1/4 inch if you use the line at the edge. I also use this to cut my English paper piecing papers, hexagons, diamonds, triangles. But today I'm just going to cut strips. I also use this for cutting my bindings, sashings, cornerstones, anything. So I'm right-handed, so I have the 0 to the left-hand side. Okay, this is designed for right and left-handed people, so you just turn it around and use it the other way if you're left-handed, and you'd work in the opposite direction. So all I've done to start with, I've got a piece of fabric. Now it can be, the edges can be rough at the ends, it doesn't have to be neat or anything. So I've just got a piece of fabric that doesn't want to open up, and I've just folded it in half. So I've got the folded edge towards me here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my shape cut, and it's got the lines across it. So the black line that is parallel to the 0, I'm going to place that on the bottom edge of my fabric, but I'm setting the 0 in. Do not put that first cut on the edge of your fabric. You want to inset it a little bit, because what we want to do is tidy that edge up. So I'm actually going to cut these strips at 2.5 inches. Okay, so I've inset the 0 so that it's off of the edge of my fabric. With these, you hold your rotary cutter and you drop it, you hold it at an angle and drop it into the little, I call it a tier, and then you just push. Don't move the ruler, and I'm cutting in 2.5, so 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. So I'm just going to lift this off, and it's important not to move your fabric. I'm just going to remove the last piece that I haven't cut, and the first little sliver at the edge that we've tidied the edge up. Okay. So normally I would move around the corner of the table. I don't have that option here. So I'm just going to twist my board around like so. And once again, I'm going to do exactly the same. This is a straight edge now. So I'm going to place the black line at the bottom edge of my fabric, like so. And what I want to do now, I want to cut these strips 3.5 inches in length. So all the strips will be 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches in length. Doesn't matter whether you're using one of these to cut it with, or whether you choose to use your ordinary ruler and just cut it like that. So I've inset it from the edge. I've got the black line along the straight bottom edge I've already cut, and I'm going to cut it on the 0. I want these to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to cut in the 3.5. 3.5 plus 3.5 is 7. Now, I haven't got enough space here to cut another 3.5. So what I'm going to do now, these I've actually cut. So these are the little edges that I've cut off to tidy it up. Oops. And the fabric I use double. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14. There's 16 cut there already. Absolutely spot on, 3.5 by 2.5. Now here, I've got a piece left, but because we had a fold on the bottom edge, I can now just open that up. And these now can be trimmed down, so you get another 3.5 inch piece out of all of these. Okay, which again you can use using the shape cut, or you can do with your ordinary ruler and just take it down to the size you need. So I'll just set those aside for the moment, and we have the blocks, the pieces ready that we're looking for. Just twist my mat around so I've got a little bit more space. There we go. So this is a really easy technique. It grows very, very quickly. So all we need now, I've already got some 3.5 inch pieces done. 3.5, there we go. I've already done these prior to us coming on camera. So I've already got some of these done. So what we need to do now is actually work out how we're going to put it together. So all we need is you will have the right side of the fabric. Let me use a different colour so you can see it easily. The right side of the fabric facing up. So for every piece we're doing, we need 2 pieces of fabric, a feature fabric and a background fabric. Now what we want to do is we want to place the right side facing up on the feature fabric, and the background fabric we're going to place like so. Now what we need to do, we need to be able to sew it over from corner to corner. You can just eyeball it if you want to, and once you've done a few of these, you can actually do that. It's not a problem at all, okay? However, if you'd rather mark the fabric, you have different ways of doing it. First of all, you can fold the fabric over and just finger press. Now hang on a minute, let me get this right. That's right, fold that over, so your right side's down, fold it over and finger press. This fabric is very difficult to see whether I've got it the right way up or not. So now we have a sew line there, okay? If you choose to want to be able to see it better, all you need to do is actually draw a line on it. And to do that, the wrong side of the fabric, I've got a biro because it'll show up better on camera. Take a ruler and put a marking 1 inch from the edge, just there, and then draw a line from your marking to the corner, like so. So now if we place these right sides together, we now know we're going to sew here. Now what I would recommend is don't sew directly on the drawn line. Just sew just a hair's breadth to the right hand side of it, so that when it folds back, you get a continual line, like so. If you sew on the line, sometimes you can just miss the corner a little bit. So all we need to do now is actually sew on the line. So I'm just going to sew a few down and show you how we go with those. I've already got some prepared here. So let's have a look. Oops. So I drew on this one. So first of all, what I'm going to do, for those of you that haven't seen me do it before, I'm going to use a thread saver, which can sometimes be called a donkey. It's just a scrap of fabric that you fold over. Always use your fabric double, because that's the same sort of thickness that you'll be using to sew with. Just pop it under the foot and just sew. And just sew just fractionally to the edge of it. Now that means when I put this piece of fabric in, because it's already started sewing, it means you're not going to get all those loose threads coming underneath the edge. And just pull that and just keep going. So I'm just going to chain piece a few here. And as you can see, I have marked these and I'm just sewing just a fraction away from it. This one I've actually done, and instead of marking it, I've actually pressed it with an iron. So I've got a nice crease in there, and I know that I will sew just a fraction to one side of the crease on the fabric. Also, if you are using a jelly roll, you will probably see that the edges of your fabric has a little zigzag on it. So it's been peaked at the edge, okay? Now, if that's the case, your measurement comes from the inside of the PK edge. I'll show you that in a minute. But I don't bother to trim it off. It isn't necessary. It's absolutely fine. Okay, if I put that on there and so on to that, it's ready for next time. Okay, there we go. So, oops, still got my donkey on the end there. That one. So this is how you speed piece them. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to knit these apart, like so. This one, oops, this one to one side, oops. Plug this in and then I'm ready. There we go. Excuse me. Okay, right then. So what we need to do now is I'm just going to move those out of the way. So these are the ones that we have just looked at. And this is the one that I was trying to mention that has the zigzag to the edge of it. Okay, so if you ever want to measure it, the measurement comes from the inside marking, okay, not the edge of it. If you measure the whole width of it, it will come just over 2.5. It's the inside marking to the inside marking that measures 2.5 inches, and that is worldwide. Okay, so anything that you come across, that is it. But usually if people write in that you can use a jelly roll, that's written into the pattern as well, so you don't need to concern yourself about trimming it up unless you want to cut it down for your own purpose. Okay, so all I need to do now is actually just trim this. So I'm hoping that the camera will pick this up. If you see the drawn line and that I've just sewn just fractionally to the side of it. So I'm just going to place my 1/4 inch line on my drawn line and I'm going to trim the triangle off. Okay, now in a future tutorial I will be doing something called crumb quilts, so start and save your bits and bobs, because trust me, they will come in handy for us at a later date. That will go in my what I call my scrap bag, and we can be looking at that another time. Oops. There we go. So all I need to do now is just press these out. So when you're pressing, I would recommend you put the light fabric onto your pressing board, roll the darker one out and press. And as you can see, they come out really well. And I'll show you that blue in a minute so you can see what I mean about the edges on the jelly roll one. These are just made out of scraps. There we go. So I'm hoping that you can see that the edge of the cream fabric, if I put it on here, the edge of the thick cream fabric is level with the inner zigzag where it's cut on the jelly roll. Don't worry about the bit sticking out, it doesn't matter at all. So that's how it works when you're using a jelly roll or something that's pre-cut that has that on the edge of it. Okay, so we have our pieces now all made up. And what we need to do now is we pair them up. Now, when I do it, I just randomly pair lots and lots, because then I like to just put them together. So all you need to do is you need to place one way and one the other way. And by doing this, you have no seams to actually join up. So all you need to do is just sew straight the way down. So one way and one the other way. If you choose to do a plainer fabric and a pattern fabric, even if they're like this, you can do them so that they, once you put them all together, you will get crisscrosses that are the plainer ones or crisscrosses that are the pattern ones. It just depends on how you rotate them. In my jelly roll, everything was patterned, so it didn't make any difference whatsoever. But if you're using your scraps up, you can go quite designer and work that way. So I'll just show quickly sew these two together. There we go. I've still got my thread saver on my donkey, whichever you choose. It's just a scrap of fabric folded over. You don't purchase anything. And one colour one way, whoops, on the other. So. And sew it straight down. There we go. Snip that off. Ironing pad. Now, to be honest, there's no real need to press these seams open. If you prefer to, that's fine. Really doesn't make very much difference at all. There we go. There we go. So this just highlights how quickly this goes together. So now I have two blocks and I've already done a few extras. So let's have a look and see where we go with here. So first of all, you will lay your first one down. And basically, all I would do then, so say if I might like to have the pattern ones on the inside. Let's have a look and see what we've got. So all I'm doing is just rotating this round. And we could have this one here. And maybe this one here. So from there, you can see we've got this lovely thing going on here. So all you need to do then is to sew this one to this one to this one, press this seam one way and this seam in the opposite way. It doesn't matter which way round. So one way, one the other way. And then you'll just sew those two together. And that is one full block. Once you've made those blocks, I prepared these earlier, just so you can see what happens. Now, when I said before, you can use a plain and a pattern, and because I've got lots and lots of scraps of batik, I absolutely adore batiks, so I do have a lot of small pieces, so I've utilised them, actually incorporating them into this. But the background that I've got isn't a batik, it's just a basic, which I use left over from a backing fabric. So when I place them, I always place them the same way round. You can twist and turn these around, but what I will get when I put these together is the spinning patterned ones, and then you will have the plainer ones here. So then you can see the hidden windmill here, and then you've got this lovely spinning pinwheel effect there, and it forms a diamond. I think it's a really nice technique to do. I really like the quilt I've done here. I backed this in fleece actually because it's a little lap quilt. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's one that you don't need any special equipment. You've probably got enough bits and bobs at home for you to have a go with this. Even makes a really nice little back panel. So you can make the front of a bag, put anything together, cushion, have a go with it, see how you get on. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye for now.